A warm welcome to our audience around the world. It's a privilege to moderate this event hosted by Swarm Ethics co-founding team and supported by the House of Ethics. It's a distinct privilege to introduce the chief architects of this novel ethics approach. So,
Thanks.
And then I was thinking we can also maybe clarify for our audience, Katja, maybe you can share a little bit some of the ideas we have how our swarm ethics can be translated to various industry verticals, because a lot of teams around the world and colleagues have asked us, okay, this sounds great in concept, but if tomorrow I want to take it to my team, how would it look like? What is it like in practical application?
Mm-hmm. Well, it is a perfect transition from what you said previously, Ingrid, that we are moving towards decentralization. We are moving towards completely different architectures, and businesses, especially like logistics or any kind of corporation, actually is a networked entity with interconnected flows of data, goods, or people. So anybody is really concerned when we talk about supply chain or a value chain, because that's inherent for any business. And the main idea here is, when we talk about decentralization and collectivity, is the idea of fluidity. And any supply chain, that's actually the graal for any supply chain or manager, is to create this seamless fluidity within a context of uncertainties, geopolitical, financial, people-related, from internal or external uncertainties. And that's why swarm ethics can actually, because it is systemic, bring that resilience to the supply chains. And resilience means empowerment. People are empowered. That's what all three of us continuously stress on, that the agents are empowered, are autonomous, and they are part of the system. And they collectively shape integrated responsibilities. So responsibilities for carbon footprints, for green data warehousing. It is really a means to align people, tech, and processes. And that's what swarm ethics can do extremely easily. And it cannot be done without technology. And that's my next question to you, Ingrid, who we all know and value you as the deep tech pioneer and the leading voice in frontier tech that you are. And so the next question, when it comes to frontier tech like quantum computing or edge computing, which will be built on decentralized architectures, how can swarm ethics actually align or even become a perfect epidermis, like we could call it, on top of the technical layer?
Absolutely. And once again, I have to go back to the challenges that I experienced in many system integrations I had to do. And I was always searching for solutions, how to do it better, how to do it faster, how to do it more accurate. And that's how I started to learn a little bit more about edge computing. And then quantum computing came about a little bit different, because we gather all this data in the world. Actually, the estimates are that we already have 200 zettabytes of data stored in the cloud, and that's just what's reported. So imagine how much is unreported and unaccounted for. So I do believe that in this era where we need to do more computation on the edge, because we have more than 2 billion devices, and now with generative AI exploding, we're going to have even more devices that are able to compute things on the edge. And then I think with a massive data amount stored, we'll need better computational methods. So quantum edge is going to also force us to have better cyber ethics defense systems in place, because otherwise, if we don't know how to merge those two very powerful computation methods, we risk data breaches. So once again, I think that swarm ethics is a perfect natural fit, because you need to be able to secure the edge and be able to have that privacy and data governance and data provenance that we absolutely need. but then also it can handle the advanced computational power of quantum computing as well. Because if you think about qubits, how they are functioning, once again, a swarm analogy and anthropology that we're mirroring, and our systems thinking approach is a perfect match once again to handle that type of analytics capacity. So therefore, I'm a big advocate that if we are moving into the quantum edge era, like some companies are already forecasting, we need better ethical tools and better ethical systems and approaches. And swarm ethics, I think, is one of those tools. And maybe, Daniele, you can share how important it is to educate and continue to do research to demonstrate this, because just thinking about it is not enough, and just having a forecast. So share with us how we can leverage swarm ethics in education and research and the role of it.
Sure. Well, first things first, I would like to start in the opposite order, just to be a bit more fun. I would start with research simply because I think this is one of the most pressing edges for swarmetics, in particular for what is philosophical research, but also for what concerns applied research. For philosophy, I think the time is ripe for such a paradigmatic change, which would therefore spur new ideas, new concepts, develop something that is new, something that is suitable and adapt for the current times. But also for applied research, because we are seeing how, well, we just mentioned it, right? For edge computing, for anything else that is engineered, ethics is something we cannot just forget. And therefore, imagining something that can work on several devices or several edges, but at the same time manages to reach consensus, define something that is consensually called ethics. This is something that has not been attempted so far. And I think this is going to be very important, especially in the face of new devices, which are not just pure tools, not purely reactive, but they start to be active. Therefore, at least from a purely behavioral point of view, it's important to start embedding those concepts there as well. And rather than hard coding, which is something that didn't really succeed in the last decades, perhaps finding and looking for such methods could bring about something fresh and potentially useful. And then I move to education, because this basically mirrors what I just said. So first, it calls for a change in paradigm in the way traditional concepts are shaped and taught. And at the same time, it tries to empower students, researchers, and teachers alike in order to form these kind of dialogues that can bring education further on, rather than, again, a one-to-many relationship.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I can tell you, I interact with a lot of universities, and I keep trying to convince them to change the curriculum to be more immersive and break those boundaries that we've been encountering. A warm welcome to our